Well, I've been running for almost I mean off and on, not properly, not professionally and everything. I've been trying to run for many years now, but I have to say that with my marathons and stuff, yeah, this is my I've been 2.5 years.
2.5 years. We have a couple of 2-year-old marathon runners also here. Where are
I like being called 2-year-old.
All right.
Especially at this stage in my life.
All right. So my question is, since you just said that the reason you started running was because you thought that you could never run. Okay. So there's one thing called wanting to run, where you start running, you put on your shoes, and then you decide to run 21 kilometers on a Sunday morning. Where does that switch happen?
I'll tell you where that switch happens. It's a very interesting question, and it's just something that's so. It's just. I remember the first time. I mean, I cannot lie to all of you because unfortunately, Brinston's sitting right here, and anything I say, he's just going to be like, "Oh, she's a liar." But I'm going to be completely honest. The first time I thought I'm going to run the marathon, and I thought, if I've got to do it, I've got to do it the right way. There are 3 things that you need to run the marathon. You've got to be prepared, you've got to be prepared, and you've got to be prepared. There is no other way. There is no way you'll finish that marathon if you're not 100% prepared, because you hear really scary stories about people not making it, and it's a marathon. It's always a good idea to run, because if you're walking, it doesn't make sense. As much as you tell everybody else, no, I walked halfway and then I ran, that kind of stuff doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I wanted to be able to see if I'm physically ready to run 21.097, to be extremely precise, on that Sunday morning. So I did the right thing. I called, a professional who's sitting right here. I told him I want to run. So he's like, okay. I still remember the first day we were here at Joggers Park. Everybody is familiar with Joggers Park, because I see a lot of you at Joggers Park who are running. Like, I just see your backs more than your fronts, because I'm just like, I see this one also cross and another one cross and another one cross me. So everybody's time is better than mine. So yeah, the first time I ran, it was, I ran about 600 meters and I was out of breath. My feet couldn't move. I was trembling, and that was my 100% best that I could give. And I still remember I did 1.5 rounds of Joggers Park, and I looked at Brinston and he was just like, I was like, will I ever be able to run this marathon? And he just looked at me and was like, of course you will. So I think it was his faith over mine, and then he just...
I like the fact that he still smiles.
And then he'll be like, no, you won't. I mean, his expression doesn't change, so that's funny. But yeah, I did it, and then after those 600 meters, the first time I actually felt like I achieved something. Now, I'm coming from a place where I'm a complete non-runner. I have no running background whatsoever, except that, it was one of those things that I just had to do it. And because it just makes me feel great. It just takes me to this level that it's just hard to explain.
Even with your father being from the armed force?
I used to swim a lot, and I've been a swimmer and stuff, but I've had no running background, so I'm not familiar with the technique. So after the 600 meters, the first big run that I did with a lot of prep and everything was my first 8 kilometers. And that's when I felt like, wow, I've actually been, terrible time, but I've actually been on my feet for 50 minutes. And from somebody who ran 600 meters to then run 8 kilometers was a great achievement, after which I went on to doing my first double-digit run, which was 10 kilometers. And then I went on to preparing further and further and further with a great group of people around me. And then, of course, you never actually run the 21 kilometers before you run it in the marathon. So I think the longest run, excuse me, that I did was about 18 kilometers. And yeah, I mean, and then it was race week, and then I lost my sleep. How many of you actually lose your sleep one night before the marathon?
So see, that's the next question, because most of them race.
A lot. There's a lot for first-time runners. There's a lot you need to do. Like I said, you've just got to be prepared. You've got to join a running group. I mean, you can read as many number of manuals and all of that, and nothing can prepare you for race day except just great preparation. So you've got to average by 3 weeks before the marathon, you should be averaging about 35 kilometers a week minimum. I'm no one to talk because I don't have great speed. That's another thing. That's my biggest drawback. And I know that this stage isn't a place where you talk about the things that you're not good at, but I know that my fantastic new shoes the Zoom elite are going to give me great speed. No endorsements here, but just experience. But you know, like for the first time runners, there's so much you need to be careful about, starting from your kit. Like, you know, do not try out new clothes and new gear one night before saying, oh, मेरे दोस्त खड़े होंगे वहाँ पे तो मेरे को अच्छा लगना है, मेरी photo खींचेगी तो I have to wear new clothes. No, because those new clothes could be the worst thing. You know, your speed could go down. To give you another, just to pre-warn you, you just need to like really rest it out in that week. Try and get as much sleep as you can. I didn't sleep for the last 4 days before the marathon. I don't know what it is. You just start losing sleep and you're like, what's going on? Why can't I sleep? And nothing is more important. And then you shut your eyes and you see the finish line and you don't see yourself at the finish line and you're like, oh, will I ever make it?
That was the first marathon experience.
It was my first marathon experience. You have, it's you know, I'm sure a lot of you have heard it. It's between the bliss and the blisters of running. So it's just a lot that one has to go through. You have to be mentally and physically prepared. You've got to be very careful with your diet. You know, you've got to have food that actually gives you strength and not, you know, your diet just has to be one of a runner, which means you've got to eat enough food that will last you those 21 kilometers. Just carbohydrate overloading in the last 1 week. Try not to be too social because that kind of weighs you down. So things like that. But more importantly, I experienced stuff like, you know, breaking my toenails 1 week before the marathon. And then you're like, oh my God, but you've been preparing for 8 months. And then how do you run without toenails? And then that's when you just tape your toes and you just keep going. You have everything from shin splints to you know, random kind of pains that I don't know, like a lot of you must have gone through injuries. Anyone here who's been through many injuries right before the marathon and still run it? Somebody said, yeah. Who is it?
Anybody? Just immediately prior to running the race.
Well, to give you my experience, my calves kind of start getting really sore, but then you hydrate and you go to the right people and make sure it's done. But you know what? Just run the race. There's nothing more magical than actually crossing the finish line and then just feeling like you're the one who's done it, because it's your own race and it's nobody else's time. It's not a competition. Something I want to tell you all, I'm sure a lot of you people have already run this. For me, the most magical thing about running the marathon was running on the sea link. It's just absolutely stunning. The sun doesn't come up, you know, it's you know, you have moonshine, which is like, you know, and the water is glistening, and then you have your music, and then even when you don't have music on, you still can hear everyone's breath and those footsteps, and it's just the adrenaline of 12,000 people that actually just keeps taking you forward. And that's something that you know, no amount of dialogue or me sitting here can describe. And for a first-time runner, for me it was better than being in Disneyland. Being over there, it was just amazing.
You were just talking about the ceiling, so that's my next question, because you have participated in 2 of the top 3 races in the country. Of course, the Mumbai Half Marathon and the Bangalore 10,000. So how was the experience of both the cities? Because weathers are different, and obviously you decided to go run in another city as well.
I don't know how people in Bangalore got really fit. I didn't expect them to be so good. They kind of let me down, because there was a point where I was like, you know, Bangalore's like, you know, you need to come back to the start. The start and finish is the same, you know, it's pretty much a circular race. So by the time I was like on my 4th kilometer, I saw people, they were running backwards. Like, I was like, did they jump the line? What did they actually do? But yeah, Bangalore suddenly got really fit on us. But the experience is just, it's not that different. It's like once you're in the race, you're in the zone, you're running your own time in your own method, with your own sense of commitment. For me, nothing was different. Just being focused and making sure that I get to the finish line was something that would always worry me. And as usual, even before the Bangalore race, I didn't sleep all night. And again, Princeton was there with me, and I just called him at about 4:30 in the morning, and I was like, so should we run? And he's like, you know, you've come all the way. Just run this one. And I was like, oh my God, I don't have a choice now. There comes a point where there's no turning back. So you've prepared to come all this way to run that one race. And then it makes you so nervous that you don't want to run it. But then when you actually run it, and when you cross that finish line, how do I even explain to you? All of you run races here. All of you know what it means to run the finish. What's the first thing you all do? Look at your watches for time? What do all of you do? Stop the time, yeah. Like, and then all of us are just like, and then even when you know that you're, okay, over here, of course, Nike kind of put us to shame by getting one more mile, and then, you know, Mo Farah's time and how he does it in 5 point some seconds. But we all have our Mo Farah moments, because we all give it our 100% in that last 1 kilometer, in that last 500 meters. And it's just like, even if you're going to die, you just want to make sure that you die running, which is the best part about running a marathon or running any race out there.
You know, along with you have to be there at social events, and you have to obviously be there. So obviously you said that you cut out on your friends and you tell them that you are busy with some other commitment. So time becomes a major pressure thing, right? Because like you said, you've been training for 8 months to run the marathon then. So it's great to see all celebrities doing it.
Well, I don't know, you know, when you're running, honestly, no one's really a celebrity. For me, the celebrity is the one who runs, gives it 100%, makes that effort to come out of their house every morning at 5 o'clock, train, give it your 100%. Give up a chunk of your life, because this is what you really want to do. And that's the most important thing. As far as being a celebrity runner or anything, when you're running your 8 kilometers, honestly, there's nobody interested in taking selfies with you at the 14th kilometer. No one's interested in who you are. You're not interested in anyone out there. You just want to make sure you finish the race. But yes, my biggest struggle was being a woman is, you know, there are times you have to wear really high heels. And that shift between high heels to amazing sneakers, to then going from amazing sneakers that you can wear comfortably to going back to high heels, and it's that little torture chamber for your feet, which is just a little unfair. I still remember I was, you know, I had these kinesiology tapes that were like running all the way from my calf to my hamstring, and I had to wear something which would show them off for work. And I was just like, hey, wait a minute, I'm not taking my tapes off because my running is more important. Give me something that covers me up entirely. So, you know, there comes a point in your life that your running kind of just takes over everything else. So you could be back home from a flight. I remember I came back home from a 16-hour flight at 2:30 in the morning, and I was like, you know what, I just want to go for a run. I just didn't want to do anything else. All I wanted to do when I'm on a plane also, I'm just craving, even if it's a small run, I just want to go out there for a run. And the best part, like I started by saying, that you're not running or racing against anyone. You're just doing it for yourself. And that feeling is just, everybody has different kinds of feelings when they're running. And the one that I have is just, you know, I have this space where I'm just, you know, it's just a certain sense of emptiness, which just fills a void. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's just the most beautiful feeling.